finding love in the reflection. Beauty sat at her favorite cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee filling the air around her. She stirred her tea absent-mindedly, gazing out the window as the world moved on outside. At 34, she had grown used to this quiet solitude. Not that she didn't enjoy her own company. Over the years, she had learned to. But the loneliness often gnawed at her heart, especially on days like this when she felt the weight of all the heartache she had endured. It wasn't that Beauty hadn't loved or been loved. She had experienced love's highs and devastating lows more than once. In her early 20s, she had fallen hard for a man who she believed was her forever. But the relationship had ended abruptly, with him telling her that he needed something different, as if her size defined her worth. And then there was the string of failed relationships, each one leaving her more guarded, less willing to open herself to the vulnerability that love required. She had always struggled with body image. As a plus sized woman, she'd faced countless comments about her weight, often cloaked in concern or humor, but it hurt just the same. Society had conditioned her to believe that she needed to change, to fit into a mold, to shrink herself both physically and emotionally in order to be loved. It wasn't easy to undo years of messaging that told her she wasn't enough as she was. But something had shifted in Beauty recently. After years of chasing love and validation, she had started to focus on something she had neglected for too long: herself. She began therapy, started practicing self love, and even took up yoga in the park, despite the initial stares and giggles from strangers. Slowly but surely, she started to reclaim her confidence. She learned that her worth wasn't determined by her size, and that the love she had been seeking from others had to come from within first. Still, even with this newfound self assurance, Beauty couldn't help but wonder if there was someone out there who would love her just as she was. One rainy afternoon, as she browsed through books at a local bookstore, Beauty caught sight of a man standing near the poetry section. He was tall, with unruly dark hair and a worn leather jacket. His face was a mixture of intense focus and curiosity, his brow furrowed as he scanned the spines of the books in front of him. Something about him intrigued her, but she quickly dismissed the thought. After all, she was no stranger to admiring from afar, knowing the world didn't always work out the way her daydreams did. "Excuse me, do you know anything about poetry?" the man asked, his voice warm and inviting. Caught off guard, Beauty looked up, her heart racing. "Oh, a little," she replied shyly. "I've read some, but I'm no expert." The man grinned. "That's more than I know. I'm trying to pick out a gift for my sister. She's really into poetry, and I have no idea where to start. Any recommendations?" Beauty relaxed slightly, her nervousness giving way to curiosity. She glanced at the books in front of her, picking up a collection by Maya Angelou. "This one is beautiful. It's about strength, resilience, and finding your voice. I think your sister would like it." He took the book from her, his fingers brushing against hers for just a moment. "Thanks," he said, his eyes lingering on hers a little longer than expected. "I'm James, by the way." "Beauty," she replied, feeling her cheeks flush. "Nice to meet you." As they talked, Beauty learned that James was an artist, recently moved to town, and was trying to reconnect with his family after years of strained relationships. He spoke with a vulnerability that surprised her, as if he had no need for pretense or bravado. There was something refreshing about his openness, something that made Beauty feel at ease. Over the next few weeks, Beauty and James continued to run into each other at the bookstore, at the cafe, even at the park where she did her yoga. Each encounter felt serendipitous, as if the universe was nudging them together. Their conversations grew longer, and soon they began meeting intentionally, sharing stories about their pasts, their struggles, and their dreams for the future. Beauty found herself opening up to James in ways she hadn't with anyone in years. She told him about her insecurities, about the heartbreak she had endured, and about her journey towards self acceptance. And instead of the pity or discomfort she had expected, James listened with quiet understanding. Everyone has scars, he said one evening as they sat by the river watching the sunset. Some are just more visible than others, but those scars don't make you less worthy of love. If anything, they make you more real, more beautiful. Beauty's eyes welled with tears, but for the first time in a long time, they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief, of healing. She had spent so long believing that love was something she had to earn, something that was conditional. But here was James, seeing her, truly seeing her, and loving her for exactly who she was. Months passed and their bond deepened. They laughed together, shared their dreams, and built a relationship that was rooted in mutual respect and honesty. Beauty still had moments of doubt, moments where the old insecurities would creep back in, but James was always there to remind her of her worth. One evening, as they walked hand in hand through the park, James stopped suddenly and turned to her. His eyes were filled with a tenderness that took her breath away. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice soft but steady, "about how lucky I am to have met you. You've taught me so much about love, about acceptance, about seeing beauty in the things we often overlook. I've fallen in love with you, Beauty, not because of who I think you should be, but because of exactly who you are." Beauty's heart swelled with emotion. She had spent so many years believing that she wasn't enough, that she had to change to be worthy of love. But here, in this moment, she realized that she had always been enough. She didn't need to shrink or mold herself into someone else's idea of perfection. Love, real love, saw her as she was and cherished her for it. "I love you too," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "More than I ever thought I could." Their love story wasn't perfect. No love story ever is. There were challenges, moments of doubt, and times when they had to work hard to understand each other. But through it all, Beauty had learned that love wasn't about finding someone to complete her. It was about finding someone who saw her, all of her, and chose to stand beside her anyway. As she looked at James, she realized that the years of heartbreak, the loneliness, the self doubt, it had all led her to this moment. And for the first time, she was grateful for every step of the. For anyone reading Beauty's story, know this: love doesn't always come when we expect it, and it doesn't always look the way we imagined, but it will come. And when it does, it won't demand that you change or become someone else. It will find you exactly as you are, scars and all, and it will remind you that you were always enough. So, to those who are still searching, still healing, don't lose hope. The love you deserve is out there. And more importantly, the love you deserve is already within you. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories.